Welcome to episode number 26. I'm your host Sebastian ENGSTROM, and today Danny Lehr from Caffeine Kilos as well as XL Health and Fitness joins us. He's the founder of both. He is one incredible entrepreneur, Olympic weightlifter, CrossFitter. We go into it all, his high performance habits and how he founded Caffeine Kilos as well as XL. It's a very interesting conversation, so enjoy. Danny, it's phenomenal to have you here. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, man.
So we jumped into a breathing exercise right off the bat. I see you as a phenomenal high performer, the creator, the founder, CEO of Caffeine Kilos, XL Health and Fitness, a decorated now master Olympic lifter, husband, father. I mean, you do a whole lot of damn things. How do you fit that into your day? This is 6 a.m., the recording of this podcast. You said, I've been up for an hour and a half. How do you do it, man?
I just think, man, I don't know how people don't do it, right? So if I don't get up early and get to working on things, then I feel like I'm behind all day. Because once the day kind of starts, once really, like the kids are up to start, or especially once I leave to go to, wherever I'm going, to the Caffeine Kilos warehouse or whatever, from there on out, to a certain degree, other people have some control over what's going on, you can structure your day and structure your life in ways that they don't have a lot of control over it, but things happen, right? Things go wrong sometimes in business, or there's things you have to do, or something that jumps to the front of the line. So that time in the morning from 5 to 7 a.m. is my time to kind of get the things done that I want to get done, that I don't have to worry about being interrupted in the middle of, if it's something that's like some deep work and a lot of focus, or just something that's a priority that I'm working towards, or something that I'm studying, those types of things. Anything that I just want to, get a block of time dedicated to, where I'm not thinking about other things or worried about other things or being distracted by other things. I get those things done in the morning. So then by the time 7 o'clock rolls around and the kids are getting up, I feel like I can actually stop, like put a pause on those things, help out, right? Like help them get ready for school, even go drop them off at school, that type of stuff. Kind of before getting back into it. So for me, that morning time actually just kind of sets up my whole day for success, right? It sets me up where I don't feel like I'm chasing down any fires, putting things out. I got some time to actually kind of help out around the house a little bit and help out the kids and all that. And so that feels really good. So instead of starting off your day flustered, and I think that's what happens with a lot of people, I know it has for me in the past, is you get up and it's like you feel like from straight out of bed, and the first like 2 or 3 hours are you're running around trying to get out the fucking yogurt out of the fridge for your kids' breakfast, and then like, well, I gotta eat something at some point, and and the dog keeps like ringing her bell to go outside to go potty, and I'm just like, oh god damn it, trying to like get it all squared away. Yeah, man. So I think that's a big part of it. I think that getting up early and kind of knocking out the most important work of the day, like moving those big rocks early in the morning, then it's kind of like, all right, the rest of the day, whatever happens, I know that I moved something forward, right? Like you end up with no stagnant days if you get up and get some things done first thing.
What does that look like? Do you have a routine in the morning?
It changes depending on what my focus is, what I'm doing. It's kind of funny. But right now, I mentioned like if the dog's ringing her bell to go outside to go to the bathroom. So we have a puppy, like a 4-month-old, 3 or 4-month-old puppy right now. So actually, every morning I spend like 30 minutes or so like training this dog. Like that's become a part of my morning routine. But like most things in it, it's kind of like a temporary thing, right? Like eventually she'll, in a couple months, she'll kind of be out of that stage, and then that time will go back to other things. So sometimes it'll be studying if there's something in particular that I, need to learn or get better at, or that type of thing. I'll get an online course, then I'll take, a chunk of that morning, say 30 to 60 minutes out of the morning to kind of work on that. If it's something, maybe I'm reading something specific, trying to learn get better at a certain topic. Like recently I've been really thinking and focusing a lot on writing, just being better at writing for different things, different reasons, different types of writing, as far as like copywriting for sales stuff, or even just as a creative outlet, and get kind of
Mm.
some of my thoughts out. So I did a couple writing courses. I've been reading a bunch of books on writing. And so I take that time for that. So out of that 2 hours like that, 5 to 7 a.m., probably about split about maybe 75%, 25%, 75% of actual like doing work, like
Mm-hmm.
whatever the physical things or the actual work I'm doing as far as whether that's budgetary things or whatever, but getting those big rocks and those important tasks out of the way. And then about 25% of that time or so is spent kind of studying whatever I'm trying to, like whatever I'm currently pushing towards or trying to improve on.
Sure. Yeah. So
Yeah.
no
So
no
it was it
training.
was
Yeah.
was writing. Now I'm
Yeah.
trying to improve on having a dog that's not a jerk when she's older.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So before the origins of all this, so to some people this sounds nuts. Like, okay, I still like, I like to get after it, but that is a lot to get done. I love it myself. I used to do it, and I'm starting getting swing of it again because we had a young child. She's 4 now, and my wife has had that beautiful time in the morning, and I've
yep.
slept in with her because she wouldn't sleep. So
Yeah.
anyway, dad life.
Yeah.
That being the case, how did this all come about? Like, even from an early age, like you have multiple avenues that you are creative, you have an outlet in that you're running as a business and so forth. How did this all come about? Even from like, was it nature, nurture, parents? How? Yeah, what's the origin?
Man, it's funny. I don't know nature or nurture because, if you're raised in a family that does a lot of the same things, you kind of end up doing that, right? So is that genetic or is that what you saw,
Mm,
around you?
yeah.
I think it's a combination. I think that to a certain degree, people are driven. I think that a lot of your internal drive is maybe more of a nature thing, right? You just kind of see it. A lot of people because it's not even always their parents, sometimes a grandparent or something, but you just
Mhm.
see that like, oh, this person is very driven and their child is as well, that type of thing. um, anyway, but then also there's definitely the other aspect of it, the nurture part. So my parents owned a business when I was a kid. They had
Mhm.
a heating and air conditioning company, right? So just kind of seeing that growing up, and it was interesting because my dad worked for the business, and my grandfather had started it. And so, it's this whole thing though of, yeah, like he has this job, obviously he's doing this thing, but then sometimes, like after dinner, he has to run down to the shop to take care of something, and
Mm.
so maybe he would take me and my brother, or ask if we wanted to go, and we are getting a little bit older. It's like, hey, I'm gonna run down to the shop for, whatever, half an hour, and I like get some paperwork done or something. You guys want to go? And so we would go down there and play with sheet metal in the back, keep everything real safe.
Uh-huh.
And so back there doing stuff like that while he was
Uh-huh.
working. And so I knew, so to me that was normal. That wasn't like this weird thing. It's like, oh yeah, sometimes you just got to kind of like go do something, or on, anyway, different days. Like it wasn't just a regular 9 to 5 necessarily,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so, seeing that, and then my grandfather, who started that business, he was always juggling a lot of things. I remember I was whatever 12 or so, and he bought this house that was on like a double lot. Bought the house, fixed it up, split the lot, built a house on the other lot, and then sold them both, right? And it's like
Mm.
that type of a thing. And so where I was pretty aware of what was going on because I was 12 years old and he needed someone to take care of the pool and mow the lawns and stuff. And so that was my summer job that year. I rode my bike across town, took care of the pool, made sure the chemicals were all squared away and stuff
Yeah.
as he kind of undertook this project. And so that was a lot of when I was a kid growing up. Is there's lots of those opportunities. It wasn't like forced labor, but my grandfather would call me, starting when I was, I don't even know, like 7, 8 years old. It's like, hey, I need an extra pair of hands, today or whatever. You want to come work for me? And so then I'll just go and help him out any way that he needed. And kind of started doing that throughout, different summers and after school and on weekends and stuff like that. And so I kind of saw firsthand somebody kind of doing these things, right? These like business-minded, entrepreneurial type of things. Buying buildings. He had a new tenant coming into some building he was leasing, so we'd have to go in and build a wall in the middle of it or take a wall down and stuff like that. So that was my through high school. That was kind of what my summer jobs a lot of times were working for either my parents for at the air conditioning place or for my grandpa. And so I was around a lot of that as a kid.
Mm.
So it wasn't a weird thing. It wasn't like "Oh, what do you mean you're gonna like start your own business or run or make your own money?" I would never had this upbringing where, the idea was get a job, work in it for 40 years and then
Hmm.
retire, right?
Yeah.
Like that was never the story. That's fine. And that was acceptable. Like there's nothing wrong with that. We weren't pushed away from that, but it was just kind of, you know, here's lots of examples of people who, do their own thing kind of.
Mm. So how did and when did athletics start becoming a part of your life, and how did that take expression and turn into Olympic weightlifting?
Since I could walk. So my parents they did a good job with me and my brothers as far as that goes. Like they just
Uh-huh.
put us in every sport, right? So we were as soon as I mean it started when we were really little. Like they like to go skiing and hiking and stuff. So they would take us up and we were going skiing and hiking, really early on. And then as soon as organized sports came in, we were doing that, right? Like they put us in soccer and then in baseball and, all these different things just to see kind of what do you like, what sticks. Also, being active is important. And then they and themselves were great examples. So when we were kids, my parents were playing soccer, like rec league, co-ed soccer,
That's
and they
awesome.
also played softball, like
Uh-huh.
rec league, co-ed softball together. And then
Uh-huh.
my mom would play in like women's only leagues. And my dad, I think, liked it, but he just liked, something to do. My mom
Uh-huh.
was into it. She was really like sports. So, on like Sundays after church, we would go out to the soccer fields,
Uh-huh.
and my dad driving out there, be changing into his cleats and shin guards while driving. So that was exciting for everybody. And then, and then
Oh.
so that was it. Like Sunday afternoons, we spent a lot of Sunday afternoons on the sidelines, while my parents were playing soccer, or in the evenings, we'd be out at the softball fields, hanging out in the bleachers. My parents are playing rec league softball. So
Huh.
they got us involved in stuff and they were doing that themselves. And so kind of sports and athletics and being active is just a part of every, my upbringing, is
Mm.
important, from going backpacking, over the summer with my dad to, being involved in youth sports to watching them play sports, just the whole thing. So that was just a really big part of it. And then when I was in high school, I started wrestling, and that turned out to be kind of the sport that I was best at that time. And so then I graduated, and I was kind of working out. Couldn't really, I mean, I was working out, I just thought it was what it was. And then I had a friend who's a firefighter who found CrossFit. And he's like, dude, you should try this CrossFit thing. I think you'd like it.
Mm. And
So I
this was
started doing
back
that
when?
2007, something like that.
Early. Okay.
Yeah. And so it reminded me of wrestling practice. I was like, man, this is the only thing I've ever done that makes me feel like I felt during practice, right? Like that
Yeah.
type of conditioning, that type of like hard work and everything. And so I really like that. I figured, well, I was in the best shape of my life when I was doing that. Now I'm doing this. That's probably where it's gonna lead. So then doing CrossFit, and that kind of led me into Olympic weightlifting. And then that's kind of how that lined up.
You're not an average Olympic weightlifter either. Like for anyone who hasn't checked out the video, there's a video online of freaking Danny just putting up some monster weights and winning the Masters. It's impressive, man. And coming from a background of wrestling and CrossFit and then going into it, I mean, that's yeah. How did that feel winning that?
Oh, well, it felt good to win. So when I when I was competing in weightlifting when I was a little bit younger,
Ah.
but before we had kids,
Mm-hmm.
or even when we just had my first daughter. It was fun. I was on a really good team. I was lifting for California Strength, and so I was surrounded by guys. Like when I first started lifting for California Strength, there was two national champions on the team, right?
Mm.
And a junior American record holder. So that's like you're in that environment. You're around these guys who are
Sure.
just the top, right? They're going off to compete at Pan Am Games and going off to compete at World Championships, and like these are your teammates, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so kind of expectations are a little bit different than someone who just starts kind of messing around with the barbell a little bit.
Mm.
And so in that environment, it was you were expected to win and expected to do well. So I kind of had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, or a monkey on my back, whatever you want to say, is that I had a handful of goals, and they were lined up for me by my coach. When I was first lifting, or I'd done one or two local meets, and he thought I had a lot of potential. I said, all right, that's what we're gonna do is we're going to train, and then you're gonna qualify for the American Open. And you're just going to go lift and have fun. And then the next year we'll go to nationals and just lift and have fun. And then we'll go medal at the American Open, and then we'll come back and place like top 10 at nationals. Mm. I said, oh, okay, sounds good. And so then that's like pretty much lined up. Like I went and I lifted, just had fun, same at nationals. But I never medaled. Right. So then I went to the American Open, and I think I got 5th. And I was like, oh man, so close. And then nationals, the best placing at nationals was like 7th. I was always like kind of between like, at all these national meets, I finished between like 5th and, 13th or something like that, kind of depending on the years and stuff. So just never got on the podium. And so I was done weightlifting. I'd moved on. We had, our second kid and everything. And then I turned 35, so I was eligible for masters meets, but that was never part of the plan. I honestly never gave a shit. I didn't really want to do them. Mm-hmm. Then I have a friend who does a lot of them, and he said, hey dude, Masters World Cup is in San Diego. Like, it is so close. Normally they're in Germany or whatever. Like, you should just go and go compete. It'll be fun. So
is this our mutual friend Cleo?
No, it wasn't Cleo. Actually, this was James of Thomas. Okay. So James, Jay Gafto, if you want to find him on like Instagram, this dude just runs the circuit. Like, he'll go compete at Masters, Worlds, Pan Ams, national championships, and he's just like running around winning all these titles. And so I thought, yeah, I never got that medal at a national meet. And so screw it. Let me go. Like, I'll just train hard for, whatever it is, like 20 weeks out. And then we'll just go and see if I can do something and kind of feel like I get that goal checked off the list, Mm-hmm. So I did. And so that was, and went there, ended up winning, had a good time. And I remember during the meet having so much fun, because it had been a couple of years since I had done a weightlifting meet. Mm-hmm. And then it was over and I felt great. And then I was on the plane ride home, like an hour after I got the medal. I was like on a flight home, and I remember thinking like, yeah, that's probably it. What I found is that I really liked winning. I liked the competition, but the training leading up to it is just not the season of life I'm in right now, Sure. So yeah. So how did it feel? It felt amazing. I felt really good. And it also felt like, like a release, right? Like, all right, got that monkey off my back. Now I can move on. Yeah. Don't feel like I have this thing hanging over my head. Like I never, accomplished this thing that I set out to do. Although it wasn't medaling at a national meet, whatever, World Cup counts, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So there is wrestling, there's CrossFit. What was your profession during that, and how did eventually CrossFit become that you open up a gym too, and then Caffeine Kilos? I know maybe some have heard this story. I think it'd be just Sure. good to get into.
Yeah, so I was teaching PE and coaching high school wrestling, and I taught PE for 8 years. I coached wrestling for 10 years. So I was doing that, and that's when I got exposed, got exposed to CrossFit, right? Like someone told me about CrossFit. Hey, you got to try this out. So I started doing it, loved it. And I had some experience with like a barbell and Olympic lifts. I had a track coach actually that was pretty good. He didn't really know the intricacies of the lifts or great technique, but he was aware of them enough to teach us. We learned the difference between a power snatch and a snatch, or a hang clean and a clean, and all that, So I had some familiarity with those things. And so through CrossFit, kind of got, started seeing him again, started doing them again, and had a really good time with that. So I was kind of doing that, just training CrossFit, teaching PE, coaching wrestling. And then that's when I started looking up like a local CrossFit gym. Let's see if there's one around here somewhere. And it was, again, it's like 2007 or 2008. And there was one who they just got an affiliate, and this guy was in his garage, but he had just gotten an affiliate and they just moved into this location. And so I got in contact with him, and he was actually a PE teacher at a different high school. Oh. And he said, oh, let's go work out. So we meet up, we work out a few times, we start talking. And he's like, look, dude, we just got this building, at this point, and he's running whatever, like three or four classes a day. And he was coaching every single class, and he was still teaching. And he's like, look, dude, and he had this business partner that kind of wasn't doing the work that he was supposed to be doing. He said, hey man, look, like I just started this thing. I'm coaching every single class. Like I need help, you know, like, are you interested? You know, what do you think? And I always knew that I wanted to start my own business of some sort. Didn't know exactly what that looked like, but I knew that at some point I would be, you know, getting into business. So I said, yeah, dude, let's do it. And so then I came on, and we actually had another guy come on at the same time. And that was really when Excel and CrossFit Excel really kind of started. It started as a garage and got to that point, but that's when really started pushing, when the three of us behind it, because then we could kind of share the load of classes and spend more time on the other stuff to do with gyms as well, right? And then from there, that grew pretty quickly. It's like 2008. Anyway, and that grew from that little 800 square foot building. Eventually now we're in like this 10,000 square foot building that's, you know, we have like showers, and it's really nice. And we've been there for quite a while now. So I was doing this thing, owning the gym, doing some weightlifting meets, having fun doing CrossFit, and you meet people, right? You go to these weightlifting meets, you meet the other weightlifters. Some of these other weightlifters are also CrossFitters who are just doing some weightlifting meets. And so that's how I just meet people that way. And that's how I met Charlie Zamora, who called me one day out of the blue. Must have got my number from somebody. I don't know how he got it, and just said, hey dude, I got an idea that I think you could want to be involved in, or could be involved in. You know, I just want to host this weightlifting meet and get, you know, basically what the idea hashed out to be after we talked about is just how do we get the best weightlifters in the country to come lift in this meet? So we need a crowd, and we need a cash prize. So we got some sponsors for the cash prize. We got some local, we decided to host a CrossFit style competition. And that's way that then they could stick around and watch these lifters, you know, and we put together the Caffeine Kilos Invitational. And then kind of in the process of that, Dean came in, our third founder. He understands what's cool, what looks good, the fashion side of things. He has actually a pretty good business mind himself. So he was we're all working together, and he made some apparel for the meet. And we decided that we should call it Caffeine and Kilos Invitational. So if that's the case, we should make this thing the real deal and get some coffee. So we started looking into getting our own, you know, some specialty coffee made just for us, our own blends and all that. And what it turned into is we were selling t-shirts and coffee online before the meet even happened. And so we just kind of stumbled into this business. And that was it, right? So then the Caffeine Kilos Invitational went really well. A bunch of people signed up. Everyone had a great time. We were selling t-shirts and coffee, you know, online before the meet, and then that whole thing.
So
and
the
it just
coffee
kind of
too
just took off. Yeah, right off the gate. The shirts and the coffee were started at the same time.
Okay, so who came up with the genius name?
The whole thing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of fun. So Dean and Charlie were talking about, like, again, different shirts and stuff like that. Charlie wanted to make a shirt that just said "My Life" and had a picture of a guy lifting weights and a picture of a coffee mug. And this was not connected to the invitational at this point. We didn't know what we were going to call the competition. That was just this idea we're working on. And he said, hey, I'm going to make some of these shirts for myself. I want one. Does anybody else want one? And he got this like huge response, right? Like hundreds of people like, yeah, I want that shirt. I want that shirt, you know? And so then all these people are saying that. Is, well, maybe there's something here. Maybe this like coffee and working out, like that's something we all do. It's like, it really just happened to resonate with people.
Yeah.
And so then he was talking to Dean about it. And that's when they started thinking like caffeine in kilograms, caffeine in kilos, like it kind of has a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
And so then, and in the meantime, we're all talking about these ideas, right? It's like, hey, you know, check out these shirts, whatever, you know, because we're talking almost every day setting this meetup. And so then what was the kind of final part of that is I was looking at my phone. I had the programming for the meet all written out for the CrossFit part, and we didn't know we were going to call it still. And I'm looking at the workouts, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about the shirts and stuff. And I'm just like, I'm actually looking at the format of these and structure of these workouts. And I'm like, well, it should be the Caffeine Kilos Invitational. Like, that's what it should be. Like, it should be Caffeine Kilos. Like, and as I'm thinking that, my phone rings, and I answer it. And Charlie says, hey man, I think we should call the meet the Caffeine Kilos Invitational.
There we go.
And I was like, dude, I was just like, I was having that exact thought when my phone rang. And so that was kind of that's the end of that, right? Like pretty hard to argue that it's not a good idea when something like that happens.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of that's how the whole thing launched and the whole thing kicked off.
And to this day, I haven't seen anything. There's uniqueness for sure in the design as well, even the feel to it. And it was early on, and I mean some of the awful workout clothes that are out there. I mean, yeah, talk about game changer. I've worked at Lululemon myself, so I have love for Lululemon, but that's different. It's not the nitty
Right.
gritty street style, which you guys have. Something that is coming up now more so lately is Buttery Bros, and I saw a collaboration coming up here too. That's gonna happen with the two of you somehow.
Yeah, definitely. So we did one with them a while ago.
Yeah,
Is we did a coffee with the wake and cake blend, because that's one of their kind of things they do when they go to different places. They go eat pancakes. It's a part of their kind of shtick.
sure.
So we ran through that, and then with the holiday season coming up and everything in fall, so we're coming out now with collaboration with Butter Bros. It's gonna be called the pumpkin spice pancakes.
Mm,
And so it's like, it's great coffee. It's real smooth, but it has kind of those, like the nutmeg, cinnamon kind of undertones in it.
sure.
Nothing's added. It's just coffee. It's the types of beans blended and roasted in a way that kind of brings out those different flavor notes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a lot of fun doing things with those guys.
Yeah, you even see it in, for example, On It has been very, I mean, all the colors they use in any type of marketing. I mean, yeah, you guys were early on that. And with the response, what do you attribute that to, the major explosion? Why do you think the community just took on Caffeine and Kilos like they did and it just exploded?
Well, I mean, so caffeine as a whole, I mean, that's been the number one tested and proven ergogenic aid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like caffeine and exercise have just been paired up for as long as anyone can remember, right? Ever
Mm-hmm.
since like exercise really started becoming popular in like the 70s, 80s type thing. So that's and coffee obviously is the most natural way to get caffeine. And so that's kind of the whole thing is just a lot of people, man. It's just so common that people who like working out and exercising and kind of that healthy, active lifestyle just drink coffee. And I mean, a lot of people drink coffee that don't exercise as well, but they're definitely two things that go together a lot that people pair up.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's funny to start talking about the things that you're into, right? Like, what do you like doing? Well, I like drinking coffee, I like working out. Well, you're
Yeah,
pretty good company, right? A lot of people share those hobbies.
sure.
And yeah, and so they go together, and that's kind of the whole thing.
So one of the early ways I wanted to introduce to you was I heard you and one of the co-founders on the podcast of Jason Fruja, and you were talking about
Mm-hmm.
people wanting your sweaty shirts and socks as well during any. I mean, it was pretty crazy how much
Mm-hmm.
interest there has been. Like, what are highlights that stick out
Yeah,
during
well,
your
that's
time?
sure. So that's funny. So that's one of those things where because a lot of stuff we make is limited edition, right? Like we'll
Mm,
make one run of it, or maybe we'll get like one restock on it, but then that's it, right? It's not stuff that we sell for years. It's like there might only be 100 or 72 of this one particular shirt floating around, or at most a couple hundred of them. So sometimes it's happened before at events. Someone's like, "Oh man, that shirt! Like, I got one, and I loved it. And then like whatever in the wash, it got bleached and it has this stain, and I was pissed because like I can't get another one. And I'm looking and I'm like, man, this guy wears the same size as me. And so I'll be like, well, hell, like you just have this one, And so it's like taking it off and give it to him. So that's happened quite a bit because I figure I got plenty of clothes. And then same thing with socks too. It's been really funny because our socks, they're the best. Like they're the most comfortable
Mm,
socks you'll ever own. And so that's happened at different events too, as someone's come up and said, oh man, I wish, because we've had different color ones, right? Whether they're red, white, and blue or just different color schemes.
mm,
So one time in particular, there's this guy at my gym, and he was going to a Giants game that night, like San Francisco Giants.
mhm.
And so he's like, oh, I'm going to the Giants game. We're talking about it, whatever. And I was actually wearing orange and black socks. Like I had these orange and black Caffeine Kilos socks on.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, dude, do you have like some of these? He goes, no, I wish, I got whatever. And I'm like, well, you want these ones? Like he's like, oh hell yeah. He's like pumped. And so we're at the gym. I think we just got done working out. I'm like, all right, dude, they're yours. Like, wear them to the game. And so anyway, I think I've given people the socks off my feet more than I have the shirt off my back. But
still, wow.
Anyway, yeah. So those things happen. I don't want to say like frequently, but I bet you 2 or 3 times a year I'm walking away topless. Whatever. I figure whatever, dude. You want it, it's yours. I don't care. Sure.
So what are other highlights that you remember from starting this?
Well, so it's put me in a position to meet a lot of fun people or get coached by a lot of people. We did a video series with Flo when there was when they were doing a lot more in the CrossFit as far as like streaming different things, whatever. And so we paired up with them. This guy Armin Hammer, and he was one of their big like journalists at the time. And we went around to different weightlifting coaches, and so we kind of traveled around the country. We went to down to LA for Sean Waxman and said, all right, for the next 3 days, like I'm on your weightlifting team. Just like treat me like you would anybody who lifts for you full time, And so then you get, okay, how does he coach? What's his coaching style? What's their programming like? What's the kind of environment there? All that type of stuff. We went to the same thing in Texas under Coach Ursula Papandreou, right? So down there, and she's the highest ranked, female coach in America. She was actually the acting IWF president for a while, all this type of stuff. So like very well decorated weightlifting coach. Went down and what's it like lifting for her for 3 days? Like, what if I was on her weightlifting team? Like, how does she coach? How does she, do things and all that? And so that was a really cool experience, is being able to go and get exposed to these different coaching and different people, and kind of done the same thing with Travis Mash, and we've done the same thing with different people. So that's been a lot of fun, is just going and getting opportunity to be coached by these different weightlifting coaches. I mean, we would, we'd film them, put together these videos, and then kind of and go that way too, So that's some stuff. At the CrossFit Games, sometimes we'll rent a house because we have so many people that are going to be working at the event. And so sometimes we'll have people stay with us that maybe aren't going to be working at the booth, but are just involved with the company in some capacity. And so we've had Olympic gold medalists, stay at the Caffeine Kilos house. And one year in particular, when it was CrossFit Games in LA, this was like maybe 2015 or so. Anyway, at the house, we had like world record holder powerlifters, Olympic gold medal weightlifters, and then his coach, and then some like house strength guys, as well. So then we're talking, like guys that are going and lifting at world championships, that type of stuff. And anyway, we were all in this one house. And I remember it was just interesting sometimes walking through and just like looking over, and these guys, these Ukrainian, weightlifters, or, then you look the other side and it's this power lifter, who's from Brooklyn, who's hanging out with us doing this thing. And so there's been some unique experiences like that where you're just kind of looking around like, what is going on? Like, why are these people staying in this house together? Like really just kind of like odd cast of characters type of a thing,
What was the food consumption like then?
Oh, well, that depends on the person, right?
So it was not like family meals? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, well, so a lot of times we ended up eating out, whatever, because it was like we weren't at the house that much, Most were at the event throughout the day. There's one time where the Ukrainian weightlifters, they'd never had C's candy before. Like they didn't know what C's candy was, And I remember just watching these guys just absolutely demolish this box of C's candy with a childlike joy I haven't seen anywhere else,
Oh, okay.
And one more thing, there's a unique experience that's like really stands out, is we're sponsoring this meet in Florida, and Morgan King was a friend of mine, and she's a Caffeine Kilos athlete, and she was lifting in this meet, and she didn't have anybody to coach her, to count her cards, whatever. And so she didn't go to the Olympics yet. This was a year or two before that. I was like, oh, I'll do it for you, whatever. And so I coached her through this meet, and I counted her cards and helped her, and then I coached her in the back room. And then a year later, she goes to Rio and gets 6th place in the Olympics, right? So that's kind of a fun experience too, right? Like, I don't know how many people have coached Olympians through their workouts
So
or
with
through meets even, right?
yeah, meeting all these amazing people, what are teachings, lessons, tips and tricks that you've taken away? They're like, wow, okay, I'm gonna keep that.
Uh, One thing with Morgan is during that meet, I remember this very, very well, is she's in back and it's down in Florida. So a lot of the bars in the warm up room are rusty and shitty and everything.
Mm.
And uh, she's in back doing warm up attempts. And she asks me, she says, hey, on the platform out there, are they using competition collars or spring collars?
Mm.
And so competition collars weigh 2.5 kilos each. And so the bar is loaded differently, in order to make whatever 100 kilos, you would use, different big plates. And so that way the collars, because it makes up that extra 5 kilos by the time you get it both on. And also the bar feels a little bit different with that weight as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, she asked me that and I thought it was an interesting question. I said, well, shit, I don't know. Let me go look. And I came and I said, okay, there's spring collars. She said, okay. And that was it. And then later after the meet, I mentioned that. I said, oh yeah, that's about the collars. She said, yeah, it's not even about bar feel, it's about visualizing. Mm-hmm. So then she started telling about her visualization process. And I believe in doing some visualization and getting some mental reps in. Sure. But she said that she asked because when she was lifting on the warm-up platform, she would visualize herself on the competition platform. Mm-hmm. And so she wanted the bar in her head to look like what it was going to look like on the platform. Mm-hmm. So even in her warm-up attempts, she would picture the bar loaded the way it would be loaded during the meet if that was the weight. Mm-hmm. And so then every single warm-up attempt, not just every competition, but every single time she touched the bar, she had visualized herself, making the lift 2 or 3 times. And again, in her head, the bar is loaded the way it's going to be on the platform. It's not sure. Not how it doesn't matter what it actually looks like in the warm-up room. It's almost like doing like a filter overlay.
Yeah.
And so anyways, that was something where I was like, oh man, that's visualization to the next level, right? It's like not just picturing yourself making this lift, but actually picturing the barbell the way it's going to look. So then when she goes out to take her first attempt on the platform, the bar's lined up, but she's seen that bar, she's already lifted that bar, in the back room. So that was something that was interesting. Asked her if she ever misses in her visualizations, and she said that sometimes she does. And if she, like in 2 attempts, if she keeps mentally missing this weight, she'll visualize somebody else who she likes, who she thinks is a really good technique. She'll visualize them making that same weight, and then it gives her the confidence. Then she'll be able to make it mentally and then in her life as well. So anyway, that's something that that level of focus and mental focus and visualization is something that, man, really, I think about that a lot.
Yeah, that's fascinating. How are there other habits that might surprise you, or that are very unique that you've come across during these interactions with these people too?
Well, that's one thing that blows my mind a lot of times. And I don't know if I'd say exactly who or whatever, but man, the nutrition of a lot of these top level athletes is not what a lot of people think it would be.
Yep.
Right. You assume oh, they got it together and they're, whatever. And it's oh, dude, you're hanging out with some of these guys and they're just sitting there hammering gummy worms throughout the day. Oh. I'm what are you doing?
Oh.
Just, so just that's one thing that would surprise me a lot. Just from a kind of surprise, shocking, or type thing. Man, I can't believe this is what some of these people are eating, and then going and being top performers, in their sport. But that visualization with Morgan, that particular conversation was unique to her, but that idea of the mental reps and the visualization is something that I've kind of found with a lot of top athletes. Also, it's the attitude of if anybody else can do it, I can too. Wes Kitts, who just competed at the Olympics this last year, he had that comment one time as he was sitting there and we were lifting together. That's another fun thing, is actually sharing a bar and lifting with some of these people, right?
Yep.
So we're lifting together, and he said, there's a weight coming up and it was really heavy. I know it's like real vague, but you get the point. It was like a little bit heavier than what he'd been lifting that day, and he was gonna go for us. Oh, you think getting like whatever the next step, the next lift, you think you're gonna get there? And he's like, well, yeah. I said, oh yeah, what makes you think that? He goes, well, other people do it. and it was great with his like Southern accent. Other people do it. I'm like, well, shit, Wes, I guess that's a good reason as any, you know. Yeah. And that's something I found with lots of different high level athletes. That kind of, you know, it's not that they, from my experiences, it's not that they think they're special. In fact, the best athletes that I've come in contact with, that they don't think they're special. They actually think that they're just like everybody else. And you know what? If anyone can do it, then everyone can do it, you know, type of a thing. And that's what drives a lot of them to be better. It's not this like God complex. It's almost the opposite. It's like, well, like if other people can do this, I can too. Like I just need to work harder. I need to put in more time. Like I just need to do the things it takes. Like other people are not going to do the things it takes. So if I do the things it takes, then I can be as good or better than anybody else, you know?
Sure. When it comes to even your own gym or California Strength, for those who don't know, I mean, Dave Spitz is just genius. I've done his programming, lifted at an affiliate of his as well with Kaleo and our connection there. What are unique things you would say, one, about Cal Strength? You've mentioned that they're high level athletes and there's a different atmosphere. What is unique there, would you say, other than that, as well as with your own, what have you created that has been the secret sauce to excel?
Oh man, they're so different. So California Strength is so unique, and it's funny, people say it like you can almost feel it in the walls. Like something about that place just makes you want to work hard and makes you put out. Like there's these expectations, you know, and part of that is the people training there, right? Like you're surrounded by people on the weightlifting team who are, you know, competing at nationals or competing at the international level, most of them. And then also they do NFL combine prep. So you get these guys in there who were, you know, the best guy on their college football team, who are there training to see where they can get drafted for the NFL. And that's just the environment down there all the time. Is there are people who are pursuing, you know, athletic performance at the highest level, right? Like that's just what it's like down there. So when you're in there in that environment, it gets pretty intense. You know, I remember times where, you know, I mean, there's fist fights amongst teammates in training at times. You know, also just the way to motivate one another down there. And this has changed a little bit over time. You know, when Glenn Penley was the coach, it was a little bit different than when Dave is the coach, with different people on the team as people kind of filter through and you know, either age out or retire, or new people come in or move away and all that. You know, it changed a little bit, but there's this aggressive support structure that is very unique, that I have not experienced anywhere else, as far as demanding on one another. And the way to motivate is sometimes not what you would think. It's not usually, I mean, there is some of this, but oftentimes, or at least back in the day, not as much like you miss a lift, you can do it, try again, you know. It was more of you missed this lift, but it was, you know, seemed like you could make it. You start loading it on the bar again, or start getting the bar ready, and you get your teammates chirping at you, saying things like, "What are you doing? Stop wasting everybody's time. Like it's too heavy. You're not strong enough. Like what are you doing?" You know. And so you got to be, if you could be motivated by that, then you know, then that makes a big difference, you know. Yeah. And I think that side of things, you get this kind of mental training in as well, whereas then you're in a meet, you're in a competition, and you miss a lift. You know, maybe you have those internal voices, right, in your own head, like, shit, I can't believe I missed that. Like, what's going on? You know, you only got 3 attempts at a snatch, and if you miss your opener, now you only got 2. Like, you're gonna bomb out, and you know, everybody, it's natural. You kind of have these like, you know, internal doubts. Sure. So I think training on a team where every now and then you miss a lift and people start chirping at you, telling you that it's too heavy and you're not good enough, and it's you're wasting everybody's time, and it's just not there. Like, shut it down. What are you doing? You know,
Sure.
you're going to hurt yourself. Stop.
Yeah.
And then kind of being like, yeah, all right, screw you. Like, I guess, like, I am going to do, like, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Right. And then doing that and making the lifts. So you build this kind of mental toughness of, you know, coming back from missed lifts or difficult times in training, and kind of the, you know, screw you, I'm going to do it anyway, type of an attitude. It'll toughen up an athlete like nothing else, if you can survive it, right? That's the catch. Is for some people that doesn't work. For some people, you start saying things like that and you just watch them crumble from the inside out. And if that's the case, you're not on the team very long. You don't stick around. You kind of move on to somewhere else that matches what works for you better. So the environment out at Cal Strength is extremely demanding, but in a good way. Everybody knows that everybody is there to get better. And so if you don't like what someone said to you, if they're trying to help you get better and you don't like the way they phrased it, then like, that's on you. Like, it's not on them. Like, the worst thing that could happen is that they don't try to help you. Right. And so there's zero wiggle room for getting your feelings hurt when you're lifting out there, when you're training at Cal Strength. So there's one goal and one goal only, and that is to improve. And so like, so you just got to deal with it. So that's what it's like at Cal Strength. And I love that place for that. At Excel, it's a little different. Excel is look, we're a gym and we have a mission, and our goal is to, you know, promote a healthy, active lifestyle, and, you know, improve the quality of life, like, people in the community, you know? And so out there it's almost the opposite. It's just encouraging. It's extremely encouraging. You get people from all ages. We have, like, in a class, we'll have someone who's, 21 years old, and we have a 84-year-old woman who goes to 3 days a week, doesn't miss, you know, type of thing. And they'll be training together and encouraging each other along the ways, and giving each other, you know, little fist bumps on our app that tracks workouts and that whole thing. And so the number one word to describe Excel is community, right? It's everybody at the gym is hanging out on the weekends with other people that go to the gym. And people are happy to see each other down there and have something common and work out together and talk. And we do events about once a month. We try to have some sort of a social event of some, you know, something for people to kind of get down there and see each other outside of just while working out and doing all that type of thing. So that's really the main feeling or vibe at Excel, is just this feeling of community and support. Everyone's there helping each other out, and absolutely people are getting after it. And we got some people putting on pretty big performances. We have some athletes, whether they're masters or whatever, who are, you know, either going to the games or one step away from going to the CrossFit Games every year. But that performance side of things isn't what we push. If you want to do that, that's great. We can support you for that. But we're really just there to get people, working out and encouraging one another and just helping each other, you know, feel good on a daily basis.
So one of the most impactful things that you do is giving back. And this is by supporting, I mean, you have, of course, Caffeine Kilos, you have your CrossFit gym, you have other avenues to give back from that too. Do you mind going into that and how, what is it that you do in that sense?
One of my favorite things that we do at Excel is we have every November, we do a Turkey Day Throwdown. And so we do a little internal competition, but the price of admission, right? Like, the price to sign up for the meet is you have to bring in a frozen turkey. And so we gather up all these frozen turkeys, we donate them to the local food bank. So awesome. Every year we end up with right around 100, or last few years anyway, we've been pushing that 100 number. And so that's been a lot of fun. So it's just been, hey, we get together. Everyone has a great time too. They do this little internal competition that maybe they wouldn't want to do, or be, wouldn't want to sign up for normally, because they're not a competitor. They're just there working out, having a good time. But there's a community event involved. There's a cause, so we have a chance to donate these turkeys to the local food bank. And that's always a lot of fun. I really like that. It's something local and tangible. It's not just like sending money somewhere, but like I see these turkeys,
Yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah,
know
yeah.
that they're going to be delivered to these families, and it's going to make a big difference for them. So that's something that I really have a lot of fun with. And then with Caffeine Kilos, we're always into something. We, whether it's making some special products for like breast cancer awareness for October, and releasing those, and then donating all the profits to there's this local organization, Sacramento, we're working with this year. We've done it with Barbells for Boobs in years prior. So we do that pretty frequently. When COVID first hit, we did a gym scholarship thing. We raised some money, and then we had people apply for it and got on phone talk. And we basically just paid their gym memberships. Like people got laid off because of COVID. We just paid their gym memberships for a year. Did that for a few different people. So that was a lot of fun. So I really like doing the things that are more tangible. There's a person involved I can talk to, or there's those types of things are things that excite me.
That's amazing. And I think that's just a wonderful way of wrapping it up. I mean, that's what it comes back to. I mean, it's my number one goal too, is yes, first and foremost, right, being able to pay the bills, but also a big thing is that how do you get back in the same time? And I think you're just a phenomenal example, and thank you freaking so much for what you're doing. I mean, you're an inspiration to myself and so many people out there by creating something awesome, something cool, and you're giving back in the same time. So Danny, amazing to have you on. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Sebastian. Had a good time, man. Appreciate it.
Danny shares some amazing stories. He is just a very generous man, gives back to the community, sponsors people in the weightlifting, CrossFit, overall in the health and fitness community. It's just amazing what he does. Not just helping out the people that are close to him by putting a roof over his family's head, but also the people at the companies that he has founded, as well as reaching out to people who don't have much. So I respect the hell out of that, as well as Danny. Thank you for tuning in. And if you haven't done so, check out the programs that we have online, the gymnastics, CrossFit gymnastics program, as well as the mindset program. We have the modern athlete Zeus as well, a mix of methodical CrossFit. You can see it at safinastrength.com. And if you haven't done so far, the good deed of the day, leave a review, please. And if you haven't done so, 5 stars. If you're on Apple, it takes you probably 30 seconds, if less than that. Follow, subscribe. It's easy to do so, and I highly appreciate you doing it. It helps us reach more people. That is the why. So thank you for tuning in. See you next week. Much love.